Hello and welcome. This is a good or bad announcement letting you know there's some right nasty fog rolling in. Ooh, just look at it. It's got a right mean temper, that fog has. Ooh, it's a wrong un, that is. It's the fog, if you haven't guessed. Also, I'm incredibly warm right now. Like, insanely warm. There's 2 giant lights. And it's also a very warm day, so... The Fog was released in 1980 and directed by John Carpenter, which tells the story of some vengeful spirits that live in some strobe-lit fog. And I'd like to start off by saying that the opening to this movie is just perfection. We have John Houseman playing a guy telling a lovely little campfire story to some children. He tells them the tale of a ship. I mean, it's great. Boat stories are awesome. The kids are gonna love this.
The ship crashed against the rocks. The hull sheared in two. The mast snapped like a twig. And the wreckage sank with all the men aboard. At the bottom of the sea lay the Elizabeth Dane with her crew, their lungs filled with salt water, their eyes open and staring into the darkness.
I don't know about the kids, but a little bit of pee may have come out of me. But yeah, he is telling the story about how a ship on the shores of Spivey Point winded up in some fog, and there was this light. Then they all drowned, and now it is 100 years to that day, and it has been passed down by generations that they will rise up and search for that misleading light of death and get their vengeance. You see, the ship followed this light as if it were a beacon through the fog. But, yeah, like I said, they drowned. But this is where it all gets horrid and murdery, because later in the film, you find out that the 6 founders of Antonio Bay, which is where this film is set, deliberately made a campfire to mislead and cause the tragic demise of this unfortunate crew. And the reason this heinous crime was committed was because this crew wanted to set up a colony. But the captain had leprosy, and the founders of Antonio Bay did not take kindly to this idea. So they got the crew killed and plundered the ship and took their gold and built up their own colony with it. And now, in this here film, the spirits want vengeance by killing 6 people in place of the original 6 founders that killed them. One thing about stories like this that always bugs me is, why do ghosts always wait for an anniversary? I mean, did they just think waiting 100 years was more dramatic, or did it just take that long to plan? Either way, the intro to this movie is excellent. The scene is shot really well. The delivery of that ghost story is pitch perfect, and the music is spot on. In fact, I'd just like to say that the music throughout this movie is just excellent, really. So, throughout this film, the various characters slowly unravel the mystery and uncover the atrocities that the founders committed, while dodging some rather deadly and unpleasant ghost attacks. And like most horror movies, this film builds up to the full ghost invasion of the town. You know, I say that like all horror films have a ghostly invasion of a town. They don't. We are treated to 3 people dying fairly early on aboard their boat. Would it be a ship? When does a boat become a ship? I have no idea. Nor do I really care, but I thought I'd ask anyway. I do like that we never get a good proper look at these ghostly ghosts. Definitely adds to the suspense. And this film follows several characters. One of them being the host of a radio show, Stevie Wayne. She is played by Adrienne Barbeau. And you know, I think she's my favourite character in this film, purely because she's just entertaining. Yes, that is a really good descriptive analysis of my thoughts there. Her son was at the ghost story at the start of the film, and then later finds a bit of driftwood, which was part of the ship that sank. Intrigued by this bit of wood, Stevie keeps it, and it gives her some ghostly warnings, such as telling her that people must die, and we want our revenge, and boo, ghost things. I have no idea why I'm being overly silly today. And again, I say silly. I think at this point this is just normal for me now. And these events make her suspect the very strange fog that she sees now and again from her lighthouse, which is where she broadcasts from. Eventually she realises that it's some evil otherworldly fog that kills people. And there's this good bit, right, where her son is trapped by the fog and she's pleading over the radio for someone to save him. And it is none other than Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins who come to his rescue. They play Elizabeth Solly and Nick Castle. And this is where I give in and mention Halloween. Nick Castle was the name of the guy that played Michael Myers in the original Halloween, so calling Atkins' character Nick Castle was a nice reference, especially considering John Carpenter made both this film and Halloween, and both films also starred Jamie Lee Curtis, who just so happens to be the person who spends pretty much the entire film with this character. So, good little nod that. But yeah, Elizabeth and Nick bump into each other and experience ghostly goings-on. Because before the full fog invasion happens, strange things happened throughout the town. Like there's a knock at the door but no one's there. Ooh. Or chairs moving by themselves. And windows shattering. I'm glad I started with the knocking at the door one, because if that was the one at the end, it would not have held up at all after that other one. And this makes them decide to team up, and they investigate the disappearance of those 3 people from earlier on. And they discover that one of them seemingly drowned without ever entering the water. But what really makes them think ghost is that the body stands up and starts acting all possessed. Yeah, I usually find that's the one that tips people off. The movie winds up ending in a church. When the fog rolls into town properly, everyone but Stevie, who stays at her lighthouse, is at the church. And the priest, who is the last living descendant of the founders of the town, spends the movie reading a journal written by one of his ancestors which details all the horrible things that happened. He realises the ghosts are out for blood and picks up a golden cross, which was made out of the stolen gold, and tries to give it back, which seemingly works. But then, after everyone goes their own way, the ghosts return and kill the priest, and that's that. So in a nutshell, that's The Fog. A really well shot movie with great music and damn good suspense. But aside from Stevie and the guy at the beginning, everyone else seemed fairly bland and forgettable. Ultimately, I don't think this is a movie I will be going back to. Once was enough for me, but it was by no means bad. It's a good suspense-driven ghost story that delivers on what it promises. You have been watching Good or Bad, and I will see you next time. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, because if you don't, I will take vengeance upon you in 100 years.